Good morning, YouTube. This is Joe D'Agostino from Joseph Vincent Photography, and I'm here to talk about one of my newest favorite cameras. This is the Fujifilm GFX50S. I picked this camera up probably beginning of summer, 2017, and it has been incredible. Just to start off real quick, I'm not represented by Fuji in any way. I'm a professional photographer, wedding, portrait, family, with my partner Vincent. And yeah, this has been an amazing addition for our workflow, for our camera systems that we use. A lot of Nikon, a lot of Canon. I'm a Nikon shooter, he's a Canon shooter. But this guy here adds a whole new dimension to our photography and the kind of products that we can give to our clients at the end of the day. A different kind of look. I was shooting a lot of phase one. Older models have a DF plus, and I was using a P40 plus back from phase one. Amazing results, amazing image quality. However, anything past ISO 400, really difficult. A lot of color shift, a lot of grain, a lot of noise, and it just really was a slow system to use. That being said, the GFX is not a speed demon. You cannot shoot sports with it. I mean, you can probably shoot anything you want with it if you try hard enough, but it has its limitations. Your 3 frames per second is really difficult to try to get around. That's where you are. It's only contrast detection. So autofocus, it's there, it will lock on. It just takes some time to do it. And if you're in any kind of tricky lighting situation, that's going to be really hard for you to do. I'm not doing this as a camera review. This is more or less just my general feelings with this amazing system. I have only bought one lens for this camera. This is the 63 millimeter f2.8. Awesome piece of glass. Look at that sensor. That sensor is huge. So yeah, I wanted just a normal prime lens. I was going for something close to a 50, and this is kind of it. I like to shoot a 50. I'm really a prime shooter, but what I also love to do with this camera, and everybody in the mirrorless world knows, is adapt lenses. I've been really lucky to strike up a friendship with Kipon and the owner, and he's an amazing gentleman to work with. And I have been using Kipon adapters for the Mamiya mount and some of the vintage glass there. And the 645 lenses that they offer. The 120 macro is amazing, and I will show you examples on this video later. But the crown jewel for me has been the Pentax 6.7 105 f2.4. A lot of people love to shoot that Zeiss 80 millimeter Zeiss contact Zeiss lens on the Contax 645. And it has a characteristic unlike any other. But with that being said, I don't want to spend $2,000 for that lens. I don't want to spend $2,000 for a lens that I can't autofocus on this system. And if I do buy an autofocus Contax adapter, it will be a cropped image. The Kipon has a focal reducer, which gives me the full view of the 105 on this lens. So I choose the manual focus. I choose a $400 to $500 lens that you can find used, and I choose an adapter which has a focal reducer in it, so I get the full effect of what the lens is really supposed to portray. I will also have examples of that on here too. As far as the usability of this camera though, you know, a lot of people were saying it's bulky, it's square, it's a big box, and yeah, that could be true, and you know, it's maybe has looks only a mother could love. But I'll tell you, the grip is fantastic. Every button is where it's supposed to be. The joystick in the back is amazing. Flip out screen, um, you know, and the ability to take it as a portrait, flip out screen. I don't have the chimney stack that helps do the viewfinder here, but I don't really need it. I'm down like this if I need to really kind of take that kind of angle and shoot from the waist. Um, you know, obviously external dials for your ISO and your shutter speed. I tend to leave them on the T option up here so I can run it with the command wheel, and the same with the ISO. And I work my aperture the old way on the ring. I find that easiest. I can keep my eye in the eyepiece and the viewfinder, and I can, you know, rock the ISO accordingly or the shutter speed if I need be. Um, it's just an amazing camera. So easy to work. There's no bugs with it whatsoever. Excuse me. I've never had an issue with it. I've had this thing in the pouring rain in Key West, Florida, humid, hot, never missed a beat. I took it on my honeymoon as my street camera. I didn't feel like carrying a D5, and I didn't feel like carrying a D810. So I carried this with this lens, because at the time that's the only one I had. And amazing camera. Not difficult to hold, not difficult to carry all day long. I used a black rapid strap, cross carry. Awesome. Even my wife, she's a very small woman, tiny and petite, had no problem using this. I simply set up, you know, a simple aperture for her, and you know, the ISO, I put it on auto ISO and auto shutter speed, and she was able to take pictures with it. She doesn't know anything about photography. So here she is wielding a $6,500 professional medium format camera, just like a point and shoot. That's amazing. That's absolutely amazing. Now, will those kind of people buy this camera? You know, maybe not. But the ability for it to be that kind of camera, should you choose to use it like that, is amazing. Now, for me, when I do street photography, or if I do, you know, I'm going out with family and events, yeah, I've taken this, but really I'll yield to the XT2, which, incidentally, I'm shooting right now this video on with the 35mm f2 and a Rode video mic. Or I'll use the X Pro 1. I only have the X Pro 1 at the time. I'm looking forward to getting the X Pro 2, but that'll just be a toy in the future. Really, I'm not going to use it professionally. I'm just going to use it for my own personal projects. But I do use the XT2 personally, and as well as professionally, for just quick little, you know, wedding shots where, you know, I just need something light, and I just want to, for instance, this week, I'm actually in 2 days, I leave for Punta Cana to do a wedding out there, and I'm not bringing anything but the XT2 and some of my my X-mount lenses. I'm just traveling light. But back to the GFX, amazing. Like I said, it's not a fast camera, but it is definitely a deadly accurate camera. And excuse me. And it's a deadly accurate camera, and the results that it yields are simply like no other. The depth of field, the isolation of the subject, the color tones in skin, the dynamic range, highlight recovery, shadow detail recovery, skin tones. I mean, straight out of camera, yeah, you have the Fujifilm simulations, and that's great. And, you know, they show up on JPEG, and also they are embedded in Lightroom, which you can choose to add to the RAW file. Awesome. Without a doubt, great. But I'll tell you, straight out of camera, the image is so close to where I would really probably leave it. I do add some simulations to it. I do add some presets if I want to try to mimic some film, some Portra 400H. I'm sorry, Fuji 400H or some Portra 400, or, you know, the 160s. I'm a big fan of black and white. I love to shoot Ilford Pan F. And the way that this renders that image, and if I apply a Pan F preset to it, just the tonality of the image is just fantastic. I don't know, there's nothing like it, but like I said, you get that, it's just a different look from full frame, and certainly a crop sensor. I will also put some images from the XT2 compared to this. I was in a hotel room shooting groom getting ready, and I also shot the bride getting ready. Same shot with the 105 adapted to this, and on the XT2 I had a 35 f2. I know it's not the same focal range, but it's pretty comparable. And I gotta say that the XT2 is just an amazing camera. To even compare to its bigger brother, you're talking about a $1,600 camera and a $6,500 camera. Let's forget about the lenses, because that's a whole nother story, but just image quality alone. Fuji, man, you guys are doing something amazing, and you guys are doing something incredible. That X-Trans sensor that they have in that XT2 is simply fantastic. This not having an X-Trans sensor really doesn't matter. It's in a whole different league because it's a medium format. A lot of people were concerned about ISO on this. Like I said, the phase 1, I really couldn't push it past ISO 400. And even that was kind of like, you're getting into something. This, I shot 6400, no problem. I have a couple shots that I will add to this video. 12,000, where are we at? 12,800. In color. Not that bad of a color shift. Yeah, there's some noise. I'm not going to lie to you about that. But it's not anything that you couldn't, put out there with some of your other images. Completely fine. If anything, I know it's the thing to say, it looks like film. But I don't want to get too wordy. I know I've been talking for quite some time now. I'm new at video. Sorry if I say a lot. I want to try to get more involved into video and into YouTube. Not so much maybe camera reviews, but just my feelings about cameras and what I use them for and how they work for me and my business, and the kind of images they develop, because each one has its own personality. The Nikons look different than the Canons. Canon has amazing color tones and skin tones. Fuji has that nice bluish green in the shadows and colorful, vivid images. And again, Nikon as well, a beautiful image rendered, and there's something about Nikon bodies that every button is exactly where it should be, and it's just such a simple camera to use. But without further ado, I will throw some links down below in this video of our blog, where you can see some of the high-res photos from this camera compared to some of the others, and I will also show some videos in this video. I will show some pictures in the video from this camera with some adapted lenses. Now, the lenses I'm adapting, with the 63mm being a native lens, I will also be adapting, you'll see some images from the Pentax 67105, the Minolta 45 f2, which is a small little pancake lens. Talk about a street situation there. I mean, that's super small. I will also show you the Mamiya 120 f4 macro, and I'm trying to think if I have anything else. I was experimenting with the 80mm Mamiya f1.9, excuse me, but it's a very soft lens, wide open, and I just don't think it does this sensor justice. I think you're really just, you're knocking this camera down a few pegs by using that lens on here. You're not getting the most out of it. It doesn't compare to the Contax. Everybody says it's a poor man's Contax 80 f2. It's not. It's definitely not. It has nice bokeh. It renders a nice image, but it is just too soft. It's just way too soft. There's no contrast whatsoever. So I don't recommend that lens. But like I said, I'm going on long enough here. Images are below. Thank you. Have a good day.